How to Get to 5D, Part 5. By Sharon Stewart in Athena. Dealing with scary people. First, a couple thoughts. When I say scary people, I'm not kidding. You're thinking, oh, that's just Sharon. She's being dramatic. Life isn't that scary. Well, it is. You have to consider that there are more people who can hear the voices of evil mind control in their heads than there are people who can hear the loving voices of their guides and angels. In the same way I am prompted to take the high, loving path when I'm angry, there are more people who are prompted to strike out and attack when they are angry. I rest my case. I'm not exaggerating. This world is run on fear. Fear strikes out and attacks when it is challenged. Love does not. Love can't do anything but love. We are a low-frequency planet, and those lower frequencies are bombarded with mind control messages as well as personal attachments that prompt people to misbehave out of fear. Relationships have changed over the last 60 years since I was born. It used to be that a man went to work and made all the big decisions in a family, and now it's more equal because apparently being a money earner gives you more rights in our society. Of course, that's absolute bullshit. We can now see that's not true at all, but we know that women's rights were taken more seriously when women started paying taxes too. Another ruse to fool us now. It was all a lie. Now no worker has any rights, and some of us can see that clearly. We have to stop giving away our power to people who earn more money than we do and begin to recognize we all have the right to speak up just because we're human. I've seen relationships between a man and a woman change from strictly marriage and the man dominates the family, which was my parents' marriage, to women going out to work and the rearing of children being done by women as well, which was the 70s and 80s, and now 40 years later, there are shared child rearing relationships with no marriage involved. These are relationships that reflect the choice of the partners to stay together, which is a step forward in exerting personal power as I see it. They're not bound by a legal contract. Every day they choose to stay with their partner, or not. Extraterrestrials do not marry. They have no need to because they stay together through choice, which seems to be where we're headed. By the way, folks, if you need to leave your relationship, please do so. Don't martyr yourself. There are a lot of crappy relationships out there right now. I avoided a lot of them by never getting married. Every time I dated anyone, it's like my life was sloughed away and I became an extension of his life. I'm not a prize, I'm a person. There was no sharing in these relationships. It was his way or the highway, so I chose the highway. There were all kinds of things being said about unmarried women back then. They were spinsters, which sounded like we were spiders or something, weaving webs to trap unsuspecting men into our evil lives. There were movies about women who waited all their lives for their lives to begin. They never met Mr. Right, and for that reason, they never lived. This is all propaganda, folks, propaganda I never listened to. I spent my life living, exploring, and I had a subconscious mission of trying to find Ivo, which led me all over Europe. I learned how other people live. I learned a lot about life. I learned what it was I liked and didn't like about it. I studied mysticism, spirituality, and slowly made the shift to being woo-woo. I lived a double life. I had to heal my addictions, and in this I started fighting the archons who attempted to put me under their control again. Our relationships are being changed by love, but they're still not truly loving relationships. You can only know the wholeness of the love of God when you have mastered all 12 dimensions. Until then, you're a student and your loving experience is incomplete. There will always be room for more lessons. I have lived for 60 years and have seen the American dream families that to some extent were more functional than the families I see now. What passes for normal now is extremely degraded even in the last 60 years. Dysfunction runs high. If the hubby is having an emotional fit and the police have to be called out, how normal is that? Fighting with the neighbors requires another visit from police. Yeah, so that's normal? I doubt it. People use denial to cope. Many people do. And we have to stop it. Our collective denial is being ripped off now as more and more gets exposed. And it's high time. I've said this before and I'll probably say it again, social media would never have worked in the 60s. Why? Because we were taught not to talk to strangers. We have far more exposure to strangers now than we ever did before, and this is because of social media. So think about it, going back to what I said that most people don't have loving inner voices that speak to them. You're talking to a lot of people who only hear evil mind control and not the voices of their guides. Couple that with the fact that many families are more dysfunctional now than they were even in the 60s, and yes, this is through social engineering, and you'll see that the divide and conquer strategies of the deep state are doing well. What is so difficult about hearing a prompt to attack someone and then ignoring it? Yes, you've got this all justified in your minds and you've been doing it for years. Maybe you've garnered some success in controlling others through fear. Congratulations. The problem for you, though, is that you're the most controlled person by your own negative behavior. And you're building a jail for yourself the more you enact this rotten behavior towards others. Every time you attack another person out of anger, it's you that's being controlled into this behavior, not them. People feel anger and react in any number of ways. Some do something constructive about it. What you're doing is denying yourself your right to choice. Too bad for you. You think you're justified because people go to war. Killing other people is okay when it's war. Is it? Is it really? You think you're justified because others do it? Your parents did it? Politicians do it? Yes, you're part of the matrix because you do what others do without even thinking about it. Congratulations. You missed the whole point of life, and that's to be your authentic self. So how do the rest of us who choose not to behave this way deal with you? I limit my exposure to the public because I get attacked so often. That's one thing you can do. I choose the people I want to relate to, and I will choose them on the basis of how caring and non-vicious they are. If they're the blame and shamers, they're not the types I want to know. If that means I relate to 1 or 2 people, that's fine. I go for quality, not quantity. That's one way to deal with toxic people. There are other ways. I don't fight with them. I don't argue. Trying to argue with someone who's reacting to prompts from their evil attachments is not a fair fight. I'm very capable of abusing people because I have come from an abusive family, but I choose not to do it. So I choose not to argue. The only thing arguing will do when you're already angry is make you more angry. For those of us who vibrate above the anger frequency, anger doesn't feel good, and we don't like to fight because that doesn't feel good either. For those people who vibrate below the anger frequency, anger feels like power, so they like it. I feel sorry for you. You're missing out. If you want something constructive to do when you're angry, put on a pair of runners and go out for a walk, a jog, or a run. Burn off the adrenaline that's now coursing through your veins. Put the anger to good use. Think about the situation when you've returned to a calm headspace and then work to do something constructive to change the problem. It's not rocket science. Here's another tip: never message anyone when you're angry. If that had been the case, then someone who dumped on me the other night would not have gotten blocked. We all get triggered by others' behavior. But it's a question of what you do with it: use it to build or to destroy. Your choice. And if your choice is the latter, I'll be blocking you because you're working with the dark side. Ultimately trying to understand why these people act the way they do, having compassion for them because you know what they're missing out on, is the way I go after I hit the block button. Do I want to allow myself to be abused? Of course not. I'm not a martyr. But every time I get people attacking me, and this is frequently, I cut myself off of them and then work on forgiveness. People who deal with the public are in the unfortunate position of having to deal with people who they do not know personally. When you know someone on a face-to-face basis, you have decided that these people are good for you, and so you continue to expose yourself to them. With social media you don't have that option. I have strangers follow me. I was just called out on Gab because I cut the person off on Parler. So she followed me there so she could attack me. She claimed to be of higher light, but apparently that day she wasn't in the mood, so she attacked me. What I do with many people is I go to your profile and look at your comments. If I see you have the propensity for being an attacker, I will block you before you get a shot at me. I can tell by just reading your comments whether you're a blamer/shamer or less judgmental and more forgiving, and I will cut you off before you make a pain of yourself in my life. I look to see how you deal with fear, and if I see the lower vibe reaction, I don't want your poison in my life. If you spend your time attacking other people, you are not in control of your own mind. Your attachments or mind control are. Doing the things Ivo and I speak of in our videos of this series will help you to take that control back and will help you to hear your conscience and your guides. It's a question of where you focus. If your focus is on anger, feeling victimized, and on hating others, that's what you'll bring to your life. And by the way, you'll stay on the lower timelines, and frankly that isn't any place I'd want to be right now. Forgiveness is the way out. If someone is attacking me, I will cut them off of direct communication with me, and then work on understanding, having compassion for them, and forgiving them. This helps them as well. It helps to raise their vibration as well as your own. The other thing I do is work on chakra rebalancing, eating a good diet, focusing on beauty, focusing on having fun, and taking care of my health in other ways. By doing this, you're less likely to feel even anger when you're attacked. I've been attacked and just said, "Oh, here's another one. Bye-bye," and just carried on without feeling hurt. People who are empathic and of unity consciousness are extremely emotional, and it's taking charge of your emotional states that you have to work on. That's what Ivo and I teach in our videos to you. We call it emotional alchemy, which is transmutation of the state of the human through the emotions. We teach you to change your emotional states to ones you would want to experience more of. This helps to raise your vibration. I tend to think that being compassionate, being charitable, being loving towards all without exception, are states that earthlings have very little practice at, and it's being attacked that gives us more opportunity to create these states within ourselves. For star seeds, they're already there. You just have to move the negativity of earth life out of the way in order to feel these higher states. Like I have said, focusing on beauty is an easy one because beauty doesn't involve human interaction. You can focus on the beauty of nature and that will raise your vibe up again if it's low. However, learning to forgive earthlings for their attacks on you is very important if you want to reach 5D. Everything you need to move beyond the fourth dimension is provided to you in the fourth dimension. Logically, how could it be otherwise? What you have to recognize is that you have a choice. You always have a choice about how to respond to anything. Nothing is written in stone. Not even your genetics, because you can change them. It's your choice whether you feel bad or good. Everything is energy, and you are an energetic master because you are a part of God. Focus on that for a second and realize the truth of it. The archons are prompting others to attack you. They will find the weak ones to focus their efforts on. I am surrounded by people who do not attack me. So the archons have to find people to connect with me that they can manipulate into attacking me. When I hear their voices to do this or do that, I don't respond. At times I laugh at them. Other times, when there's no sunshine, or I feel sick, it's not so easy. So I control my environment to frustrate the archons. I have now backed off of any contact with the public again because the attacks are being stepped up. Folks, I'm only trying to help you. If you think this is a reason to attack me, then I'm just going to tell you you've got a lot of work to do. I feel sorry for you if you feel that attacking someone who's working for you is the right thing to do. You've got your wires crossed and you need to realize the truth.